Hi everyone, it's Rachel Kleinman from rwcrafts.com. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and now that Thanksgiving is over, it's time to get started on your holiday decorating. So I'm making this Eat, Drink, and Be Merry plaque for my living room, and I'm using the Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft Gelato of the Week, which is strawberry. So you can see this gorgeous strawberry color here, and I'm using it to cover the entire plaque. This is actually a piece of wood that I covered in gesso, and once the gesso dried, now I can get started. You can see I did a very thick layer of the strawberry gelatos. Now I'm using, this is, I believe, a ghosting technique where you put the stencil on top of the gelato and then you wipe the gelato away using a wet baby wipe. So you can see I didn't add any color, I actually took the color away. So that gives a really cool effect, and it's also very subtle. So now I'm going through with a stencil from the Stencil 102 collection, and I'm using the silver gelato. And you can see I just do little marks inside the stencil and then rub it through with my finger. So I'm going to use that beautiful stencil throughout my plaque. And I do set it with a heat tool every time in between my gelato's layers because sometimes they actually do stay a little wet and they can smudge. They will smudge with heavy smearing no matter what because they are not permanent, but hitting it with a heat tool really helps. So now I'm using another stencil from the Stencil 102 collection, and I went over it with my Texture Luxe Pearl. And even though these stencils are made out of a very thick cardboard, you can still reuse them and clean them. So you can see there I just wiped over it with a wet baby wipe. Again, a very handy tool. So you can definitely reuse these stencils. Don't be scared of them because they're made out of a very heavy, thick cardboard. So now I'm going through and I am painting on some glass bead glitter gel throughout my plaque. And I'm going to set that aside while the Texture Luxe paste dries and so the glitter gel can dry. And now I'm using this alphabet stencil. This is from the Stencil 301 collection. And I'm going to use my fine tip Faber-Castell black Pitt pen to trace the letters that I need to spell out Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. And I do this on a good quality watercolor paper just so that it can withstand all of the abuse that will be coming for it later. And now I am fussy cutting each letter. I'm using my fine detail scissors. I love these scissors, and it's really not time consuming. It looks time consuming, but it's not. And it's actually quite therapeutic, so give it a try. So now that everything's cut out, I'm going over it with my gold champagne gelatos, and I'm just rubbing that in with my finger. And you can see this process is actually very quick. And they kind of stick to my craft mat, which makes it really easy. I don't have to use both hands to do this. The craft mat I'm using is the Best Ever Craft Mat by Ken Oliver. I really recommend it. And if you're trying to shop for any of your crafty friends for the holidays. So once I have every letter covered in gold gelatos, I'm now painting some glass bead glitter gel on top of each letter. I'm doing a very thick coat because I really want the dimension on each one of these letters. Now when I'm using glass bead glitter gel, I don't like to hit it with my heat gun like I do with everything else because I really I want it to dry clear, and sometimes if I hit it with the heat tool, it dries a little cloudy. But when it dries naturally, it is just gorgeous. I love glass bead glitter gel. So now I chopped off a little piece of my strawberry gelatos and just took a small scoop of Design Memory Craft glaze, and I'm stirring it up and mixing it around with my palette knife. And I'm just going to spread that randomly throughout my plaque. And I don't mind if I cover up some of the stencil, that's okay. It doesn't have to be super neat and clean. And then I also let the glaze air dry naturally. I just really love how you can use the same color gelato and get a different effect depending on which different medium you mix it with. So I did this already. I covered each individual letter with a very thick coat of my textured gems in the clear ice color. So this gives it a very, and I did that on top of the glass bead glitter gel. So this gives it a very thick, shiny, shimmery, like glassy look. I really, really like it. So I did that on each letter, and I let that dry overnight while I was waiting for the glaze to dry. So once I finagled my letters to be arranged how I wanted them to, I'm going to take some Design Memory Craft Gel Medium, and I'm putting a pretty thick coat on each letter, so because there is a lot of dimension on my plaque, the thick coat will allow it so that it can really settle into all of the different grooves. So I'm going to do that for each letter. Here we go. You can kind of squish it down, ooze it out, it's fine. It dries fairly matte, so when it oozes out of the letter, you don't really see it, which is great. And now that every single letter is glued down on my plaque, I'm just going to add the simplest little dot details to the corner. Again, I'm using a textured gem, but this time I'm using the gold color. And a trick when you are using it just for the dots like this, hit the back side of whatever you're working on, and the dots will kind of settle themselves out so that they look more like a little pearl. They won't have that pointy peak at the top of them. So that's really a good way to smooth them out. You can see they look nice and round. So there is my finished plaque. And I've already put it up in my living room at my front table. Thank you so much for watching. Here are some up-close photos. You can really see all of that shimmer and shine from the glass bead glitter gel. I love it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy holiday. All of the supplies I used are listed and linked below. Bye.